Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again. Where your health is your best wealth. Yes. So, on this channel, I basically focus on faith and health, right? Yes. So, today, I'll be looking at foods that damages our microbiome, right? But firstly, for persons who do not really understand or know what is our microbiome. All right. So our microbiome can be described as a community of microorganisms, right? That basically lives in the human gut and also on the skin, right? It is made up of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and archaea. And these organisms, they live together in harmony, in a balanced environment, in healthy individuals, right? However, certain foods and food additives can indirectly cause imbalances to happen in our microbiome, right? And as a result, our gut lining, right, can become damaged, right? And also, when we practice these unhealthy food choices, harmful bacteria now are overgrown, right? And when this happens, inflammation occurs in our bodies, and as a result, our protective barrier, right, between intestinal cells are now weakened. Okay, all right. And another thing, when we have these inflammatory conditions that occur as a result of our microbiome being disturbed, right? When we make the wrong food choices, guess what can happen? Immune cells stay active for too long, right? And when our immune cells stay active for too long, our immune system now attacks our healthy organs, right? And because guess what? Our immune system is active for a long period of time. This action now creates chemicals, right? And these chemicals now is what basically damages our healthy organs. So basically, it's like your body is fighting now against your own system, right? Which we know that our immune system is our defense against diseases, viruses, all these things, right? And I can speak, right, as a living testimony who have experienced this. I was diagnosed with lupus, and when I was astounded, so I was asking the doctor, what is lupus basically? And he described this condition as my immune system now basically fighting against my own body, attacking my healthy organs, right? And I asked the doctor, I said, is there any cure for this? He was basically saying, no, there's no known cure for this. So I said, doctor, there has to be something that can be done about this. His advice to me was to basically to go home and to eat, change my diet, and to eat as how my foreparents used to eat, right? So I took this upon myself, and I said, doctor, I will not accept this. There has to be something that can be done about this, because I am one that do not take defeat. I'm the one to always look for an escape route. It doesn't matter what situation I am in. I am always looking for a way out, and thus began my investigation, right, about lupus, about this autoimmune disease that was reaping havoc in my body, right? And by the help of God, right, who gave me the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding to keep digging, keep searching, right, I discovered and I was made aware, right, about my microbiome, which I knew nothing about, right, because I was eating all these wrong things, and I realized, and it's very important for us to listen to our bodies, right? And if we eat something, I realized that after eating we have like certain reaction, right? Try to eliminate it from your diet. That is what I did when I found out that I ate like things made from gluten, baked products made from gluten, also meat. I had flare-ups. My joints were inflamed. I had ringing in my ear, right? I was like I'm walking, but then I can't balance myself, and no balance. Like I'm falling down. All of these things started to happening to me. There was breakouts on my skin as a result of like gluten, meat, milk products, cheese, stuff like that. I had base and also sugary, sweet stuff. Yes. So we should listen to our bodies. And what I found out, even so, by doing a lot of researches, I found out that because of our bodies are now inflamed, right? It gives rises now to certain diseases, right? Such as conditions like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, coronary artery disease, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, autism, even depression, Parkinson's disease, right? And according to studies, these are all related to an imbalance that we have created in our immune system, right? As a result of the changes in our microbiome. So it all comes down to our microbiome, right? And we have to remember, because I everything is just linking to each other, right? Because I was thinking to myself, what does my microbiome have to do with my whole immune system fighting against the organ? Not realizing that the food that I was eating, my diet, had something to do with it, right? So basically we see that our immune system is directly influenced by the food we eat. Because guess what? Immune cells require specific nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and proteins to function properly, right? And diet really shapes the gut microbiome, right? Which trains these defenses. Okay, yes. So, for example, vitamin C. Vitamin C stimulates white blood cell and antibody production, right? And we can get our vitamin C from like citrus fruits, oranges, right? And also limes, lemons, and also from like bell peppers, right? And also vitamin D is very crucial because guess what? It regulates antimicrobial proteins that kill pathogens, right? And we can get the vitamin D from the sunlight, and also from pumpkin seeds, from cashews, from almonds, from chia, right? Chia seeds, lentils, and also chickpeas, among other sources. Also, protein. Our body needs protein, and protein basically it provides the building block for immune cells and antibodies, right? Protein is basically the building block of our bodies, and we eat like fatty fish like salmon, grass-fed meats, sardines, and beans, as well as moringa. Yes, we can get our protein. All right, whole foods retain their natural fiber, so it's best to include whole foods in our diet, as this maintain their natural fiber. And in doing so, this natural fiber now slows down digestion and it stabilizes blood sugar. Whereas when we eat processed food, right, and include processed things in our bodies, example like sugary drinks, processed meat, right, sugary drinks, processed meat, unhealthy fats like from vegetable oils, even sodium, right, too much salt and chemical additives, right, and even refined sugars and sweeteners. Remember, these are fiber depleted foods that create empty calories and that basically trigger rapid blood sugar spikes, right? And also in doing these, in eating all of these processed food, right, it basically promote overeating and increase the risk of metabolic disease, right? And why do we overeat when we eat like processed foods? Because processed foods lack fiber and water. So we are stripped of natural nutrients, and remember, we are engineered. Remember, these processed foods are engineered in such a way to trigger our brain's reward system. Whereas whole food, now when we eat whole food from plants, remember, these foods fill us quickly due to their high fiber content, right? And their physical bulk, right? And remember, these foods that have fiber, or fruits, or vegetables, for example, our yams, our green banana, right? When we eat this type of whole food, our vegetables, our callaloo, our cabbages, when we eat this type of foods now, remember the time required to chew and to digest them, right? It really requires time to chew and to digest these foods, and we are filled up more quickly than if we were eating foods with less fiber, right? So it's like every time you eat these processed food, as you don't eat, so you feel hungry because there's no fiber. I remember, fiber basically fills us up quickly, right? So ultra processed foods and artificial sweeteners are among the primary drivers of gut dysbiosis, right? And these significantly damage the delicate balance of our gut microbiome. Yes. So when we eat too much added sugar, it doesn't just affect our blood sugar, it also changes the balance of bacteria in our gut, right? And as beneficial bacteria decline, our immune system becomes less effective at controlling inflammation and regulating how our body processes fat. And guess what happens? Over time, this can contribute to weight gain, chronic inflammation, and a higher risk of metabolic diseases, right? And remember, as we speak about metabolic diseases, these are common conditions that develop over time due to factors like poor diet, lack of exercise, aging, or organic failure in the pancreas or the liver. All right. So, examples of food that really damages our microbiome, right? And these foods have added sugars. Guess what happened now? High fructose corn syrup is being added to most of our food products, right? And what is high fructose corn syrup? High fructose corn syrup is a liquid sweetener made from corn starch. And common examples of everyday items that contain HFCS for short, which stands for high fructose corn syrup. Common ingredients that are common food items that manufacturers are adding this type of item to are like sodas, sugary drinks, cupcakes, pastries, cookies, juices, ice cream, ice pops, ketchups, jams, jellies, peanut butters, apple sauces, and even in breads and baked goods, right? And studies suggest that HFCS, right, especially like when it's added like in sodas, it may contain high amounts of advanced glycation and end products, right? And the short word for advanced glycation end products is AGEs or AGEs, right? And what is this? This is basically harmful compounds formed when proteins or fats combine with sugar in the bloodstream or in food. And guess what happened? They damage body tissues. They speed up aging. You speed up your age. You look older than you really is, because of consuming food that has high fructose corn syrup. Yes. And not only speed up your aging, it is also linked to diseases like diabetes, and also you just start to having heart problem. Okay, all right. Guess what happened now? These harmful compounds not only promote diabetes in your body and heart trouble. These harmful compounds, they also travel from the intestines to other tissues, right? causing inflammation and possible worsening joint pain, right? Joint inflammation in persons with rheumatoid arthritis. And what I've discovered is even young persons are complaining for joint pains, inflammation in their joints. When many years ago, you would find that only like persons basically like in their late 50s 60s would be complaining for like rheumatoid arthritis and all of this, but you find it like young persons, right, are really complaining about joint pains, and this is as a result of their diet. Yes. All right. Also, guess what happened now? According to studies done, diets that is rich in fructose have been linked to health concerns, example like fatty liver, obesity, autoimmune conditions, and high triglycerides. Also, insulin resistance, high blood sugar, and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. Right? Guess what happened now? Most of the foods that we consume that consist of refined sugars. And these are found like in sodas again, as I mentioned before, candies, baked goods, right? Guess what these do? These basically feed the bad bacteria and promotes gut inflammation. Also, the high fructose corn syrup that I just mentioned, and this can be found like in processed syrups, fast food. What it does, it basically disrupts the gut wall and lowers our good microbes. And remember, we need the good microbes to be our defense against viruses, bacteria, all these diseases. We need our good microbes to be well populated in our body, right? So we can have a strong defense system. Also, ultra processed snacks, and these are snacks like our packaged chips, right? Also, ready meals. I realizing most of these, most schools nowadays, right? Instead of promoting healthy like fruits day, stuff like that, they are the vendors now, or even at the tuck shop, have a lot of packaged chips for these children that has a lot of sodium, salt, contain a lot of salt, and guess what? They were processed at factories. They were stripped of their fibers. There's nothing in these that is really beneficial to these children, right? So we see these, most of these are processed by using vegetable oils, these seed oils that are disrupting our microbiomes, right? So we see it's starting from an early age, right? These children are microbiome are being affected from an early age. That's why you have most of these children are now hyperactive, right? They have attention deficit disorder, can't sit still in class, they are just all over the place, right? As a result of these foods that we're feeding our children being processed in factories, being packaged, lot of salt, lot of sodium, lot of seasoning, all of these things, right? And another thing we should, as a result of eating these packaged processed snacks, what it really does is they add chemical emulsifiers, and what these emulsifiers do is that they break down the protective mucus layer in our gut, and as a result our gut becomes permeable. Our gut lining now is now affected, right? So also fried and greasy foods, so fast food that are cooked in these oils, because guess what, is not every time they fry the chicken and fry the fries and all of these things, they change the oil. So they keep frying these chicken and these potato sticks or whatever in these oils over and over and over and over, right? And this is unhealthy. This produces unhealthy fats that trigger inflammation and harm beneficial microflora, right? And also processed meat. So processed meats like hot dogs, bacon, sausages, these contain chemical preservatives like nitrates that irritate the digestive lining. Also, alcohol. Regular or heavy drinking kills good bacteria, right? It kill good bacteria, and not only that, it feeds bad microbes that are in our microbiome, and it increases gut permeability, causing leaky gut. Also, low fiber diets, when our diets consist of low fiber diet, meaning it's lacking in whole plants. We don't really eat a lot of plants that were grown in the ground, as how God has made it. He made us. He did not make a mistake. God made us, and He made the food, right, that we should eat, which is grown from the soil, right? So when we eat a lot of processed food, fast food, right, these food don't have any fiber, or they are stripped of their fiber, right, and a whole lot of different things are being added, right? So when our diet are lacking, these diets starve beneficial microbes that we need, right? The fiber that we need to produce healthy short chain fatty acids, right? So remember, your health is your best wealth, right? And if your goal is to improve your gut microbiome and to reduce inflammation, remember, focus on minimally processed whole food, right? Whatever food you are buying, if you have 10 different ingredients, it no make no sense. You are buying food with 10 different ingredients. Some ingredients that you can't even call the name of it, right? Something is not right, right? Ensure that when you are buying food to feed your body, you're also thinking about your microbiome. What is this food doing for me? Is it adding to my body? Are I just eating it just for the taste of it? Am I adding value to my body, right? I remember, excess added sugar from any source, whether it's from HFCS, cane sugar, or any other refined sweeteners, can contribute to an unhealthy gut microbiome, thus promoting weight gain, metabolic diseases when consumed in large amounts. Remember, your health is your best wealth. Thank you for joining me again. Remember to live good, love God, right? And remember, do to your neighbor as you would have your neighbor do unto you. What you don't like for yourself, do not give it to others, right? So remember to live good, love God, continue to walk good. All right, blessings one more time. All right, thank you.